you can put cutouts in behind our building, you can put cutouts in front of our building, as we did with our chat. Same kind of idea here. I've just got a grid, and this case rather than trees, shrubs. And again, I'm just pointing to my little shrubs folder that I have available and accessible. So I'm putting a clump, in this case it's a 5x2 grid, so it's going to paint me 10 shrubs. Again, random colour selection from my folder. Now, each of these actually is an editable item. Although they've been placed individually, as a group, they're still individually tweakable. So I've just a keyboard shortcut, Control W, which I can pick this item up and move it around. They're not fixed in place. And if in fact we go to our cutout manager, you'll see that each one is an individual item. If I can select one at any given stage in tweak mode, this is the tweak mode option, and still change size, scale, orientation of any of my cutouts, even though I'm placing them as a group at once. So there we've got our image placed with context. At this point, we want to start looking at some of the stylized effects that Piranesi can generate. Now, a little bit like flattening an image within Photoshop, if you've used Photoshop before, what we need to do is actually sort of commit or burn in all of our cutouts within our illustration and commit our colors as well. Now, I mentioned the restore brush earlier and said I wasn't going to talk you through what it does until later on in the presentation. Well, the thing about the restore brush, if the restore view, if I go to restore view at the moment, what it will show us is our original model. So there's a restore point in our painting actions, and until I update that restore point, it will stay at the original part of my illustration, so our starting point in this particular case. So if I used a restore brush, I could burn off any of the color or any of the stylized elements that I've put in on top here to bring back the white of my my previous illustration. In this particular instance, what I want to do is I want to make the restore point this. So any effects I place over the top, I can burn off to bring back the colors from my original illustration. So in this particular instance, what we're going to do is re-render. This is the button up here. I'm going to click it, and it's going to ask me whether or not I want to replace what's in my restore channel with what I currently have. I say yes, and again, do I want to commit my cutouts in place? And in this particular case, I say yes. Now, I mentioned flattening in Photoshop. This isn't really flattening, because if we go back to our depth channel, you can see we still have all of our depth information. And in fact, everything is still scalable. I could still add further cutouts. Hopefully you can see that, that cutout scaling still. But what it's done is it's actually given a depth location for everything that I've placed additionally into my my illustration here. So all it's really done is it's committed everything into place. So we've re-rendered, we've effectively fixed our image, and now we'll come to the multi-fill tools. Now, as I said, the multi-fill tools are sort of a little palette. There's 15 of them that come out of the box with Piranesi. They're just a sequence of painting actions, really, that's been concertinaed together into a single mouse click to generate a particular illustration style. Now, I've got a water selected here. As you can see, it's a fill can. I've got no locks. It's going to apply it over the top of the entire. In this particular instance, what it's going to do is it's going to fill all of the screen with white. It's going to do an edge find. It's going to do another pass with edge find just to soften it down and wobble the lines a little to make it look a little bit more hand generated. And then it's going to start to bring back some of the colour from the original illustration using a grain in which to do it. And the grain is actually a piece of watercoloured paper. So I'm clicking once over the top of my illustration. Hopefully you'll stay with me. You should be seeing it go white, the line edges, and then doing another pass, softening those line edges down. And now, if you look up at the top here, you'll see a grain is ticked. You can see the texture that's being used to bring back the colour from the original illustration. It's still fairly heavily saturated. We've obviously picked very bright colour sets for the purposes of this particular illustration. But hopefully you can see your screen will be good enough, and the representation will be good enough that you can see the brush strokes within our grain that have come through to give it that sort of watercoloured look to our illustration. Now that's a single mouse click, as I say, that ran a sequence of painting actions. Now, although there's 15 that come with the product, as I say, you can create your own. If you have a particular painting style that you like, you can concertina together a number of different painting actions and paint up or apply effects to your illustration very quickly and simply with a single mouse click. And in fact, one of the demonstrations that we've got is about generating a corporate style And we've taken 4 different viewpoints of an estate of houses in the UK, and we've put together painting actions that include painting up the grass, the sidewalks, the roads, the roofs, the walls, the garage doors, the window frames, the sky, all of the elements basically, except sort of any cutouts or any stylish brush strokes like I did for the sky. And just a single click in each of the 4 views automatically paints each one of those illustrations up with exactly the same painting effects. So it's a really great way to shortcut your working practices if you can just find the styles that you like and sandwich them together. I'll give you a couple of previews of some other of the paint styles. So if I undo that one, let's say, okay, line drawing, that's probably a good one. In this particular instance, it fills with a vellum colour, it does an edge find, and as I said earlier, you can really see how it's very good at finding the edges because it's using that depth of material information to be able to determine the edges. And then it does another pass, just softening down those edges to make them look a little bit more sketchy and hand-rendered. Now, you might say, well, that's a reasonably nice effect, but actually what's happened is that I've lost the main focus onto my building, and everything's just become a sort of a little line style wall. This isn't a finished illustration. You can continue on from here, adding further cutouts if you like, but one of the nice things about using the restore brush that I've got over here is if I pick a big brush, you can see it more easily in a lower opacity, let's say 20%. What this is going to do is this is going to bring back the colours from our restore point. And if you remember, our restore is updated to be the colours of the illustration here. That's still sitting behind effectively what we've layered over the top. We're not using layers, it's just in a separate channel that we maintain there. And so using this large brush with a 20% opacity, it's just very subtly going to bring back some colour from the original illustration behind, knocking out the effect that we placed over the top. Now the more we click and drag, the more of that colour comes through. So I'll keep clicking, another click, until eventually we'll get back to the full colour. And I just use this raster scrumbly shaped brush to just go around my edges just to soften the edges down a bit. If I zoom out, you'll probably get a better idea. What it allows you to do is very clearly focus the attention just on the part of the illustration that you want the client to consider. So for example, going back to what we were talking about with the background images, if you were designing something to sit in an existing space in amongst other buildings, for example, or a landscaping planning in an existing location, you could knock back, whether it be the photograph or whether it be the model that you've got, for the areas around your particular proposal, your scheme, and just focus the attention very clearly on just the elements that you want the client to comment on. Show you another couple of the effects. And some of them are probably more relevant to you than others. I can't say that the blueprint is particular favorite of mine, but there you go. It fills the blue, does a white line edges, and again, you know, our background colours are still there. So if I went back to my restore brush, I could still bring through the colours from my model, again with the same kind of click and wipe mechanism, till eventually we got through to our 100% of the original illustration colour behind. So hopefully that gives you an idea about the kind of stylized effects that you can get out from Piranesi, but also gives you a taste that really it's a very, very quick process to get from through to a finished painted up building with textures, photographic textures, color textures, putting in our entourage. We haven't used any vehicles in this particular instance, but very clearly getting to something that can start to look stylized and artistic in a very short space of time. Now, if I clear off what we've got here, I'm going to use, instead of a brush, I'm going to use a fill can. I'm going to go up to 100% and basically clear everything back to my my restore point. So I've taken off all of the effects that I've laid over the top of it. Again, as I said, you can combination of different items. Occasionally